Today I have with me Julianne Barone, who is the legal chief of OUIO Legal Support for the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. Julianne is part of the team that oversaw the legislative drafting and implementation of the SharedWork Ohio program, Ohio's premier layoff aversion program. During the current COVID-19 crisis, Julianne has been volunteering her time to help employers understand SharedWork Ohio to help them retain jobs. Julianne, thank you for joining us this morning. Many have heard of the SharedWork program, yet are not quite certain how the program applies to their business. Could you please explain what the program is and how it can be a part of a resource for employers?
Good morning, Erica, and I'm so pleased to be here to provide everyone with important information to use in order to make informed business decisions in these uncertain times. One of the main programs that I will be talking about, as you mentioned, is the SharedWork program. It is Ohio's premier layoff aversion program. And I'm also going to be touching at a high level on the CARES Act programs and how they impact businesses. This program is called Navigating Unemployment Insurance During COVID-19, Tips and Pathways for Employers. As we touched on briefly, I'm going to talk to you about SharedWork Ohio and also about the CARES Act programs and the impact of the programs on both reimbursing and contributory employers. SharedWork Ohio is a voluntary layoff aversion program. It is very different than traditional unemployment insurance, and it was born out of the Middle Class Tax Relief Act of 2012 under President Obama. Since then, states...
I hate to interrupt you. Are you trying to share your screen? Because I don't see it right now.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, as I was saying, the Middle Class Tax Relief Act authorized states to bring up programs called short-time compensation programs at the federal level or enhanced programs for states that already had shared work programs. And Ohio did not have a program like this at the time. So I assisted with, there were probably dozens of iterations of draft legislation at the state level in order to bring it in compliance with federal requirements. And it really didn't receive the attention and credit that it's due. And this is a nationwide issue. And it's because, you know, after the Great Recession, and once we brought up this program, the economy has been smooth ever since. And so it wasn't until COVID-19 that employers began to realize that this was a tool in the employer's toolbox. And Laura Colhorst Jones and I have been speaking to employers in the weeks ever since the governor's executive order to stay at home, and some essential businesses have been able to utilize it, and especially businesses that are able to work remotely. I'm going to show you a brief video on how SharedWork Ohio works.
Has your business been negatively affected by unforeseen difficulties? Are there times when business is slow? Have you been considering layoffs? SharedWork Ohio can help you cut costs and offers an alternative to layoffs. The program allows employers to reduce affected employees' hours by 10 to 50%. Employees receive SharedWork Ohio benefits to supplement their income due to that reduction in hours. What are the benefits? Employers retain skilled workers who otherwise might have to be laid off or furloughed. Employers save the time and expense of hiring and training replacement workers when conditions improve. The anxiety associated with a layoff is reduced. Employees maintain existing benefits, such as healthcare and seniority. And employees are not required to register for work or conduct a work search. Employers determine what units are affected and may establish multiple plans with different reductions in hours. You, the employer, can tailor the plan to fit what works best for your situation. If your business needs change, plans may be modified or terminated at any time. For example, James normally works 40 hours a week and earns $1,000. If fully unemployed, he is eligible for a weekly benefit of $400. Instead, his SharedWork Ohio employer has reduced his hours by 20%. SharedWork Ohio benefits are calculated by applying the reduction percentage to the weekly benefit amount. In this example, James will work 32 hours a week, earn $800, and receive $80 a week in SharedWork Ohio benefits. Every business has its highs and lows. SharedWork Ohio can save money and jobs. For more information, email sharedwork_ohio at jfs.ohio.gov or call 866-733-0025, option 3.
SharedWork Ohio is a unique program. It is distinguishable from traditional unemployment insurance because it is truly a program about a reduction of hours. It does not factor in outside wages the way that traditional unemployment insurance does. As you heard briefly, the benefits to employers are that staff will be retained and you're going to reduce hiring and retraining costs. In addition, once the businesses are transitioned back to work full-time, it's going to be a lot easier to make that transition, especially with the CARES Act additional funding, which I'll get to later, but it will be a lot easier to make that transition if you keep your workforce on the rolls and employed at least on a partial basis. Each SharedWork Ohio plan has one affected unit, and the definition of affected unit is very broad. Employers have the discretion to decide what employees that the employer wishes to participate in this program. We typically refer employers to using the same reduction percentage. So the employees' hours all have to be reduced between 10% and 50%. If you go into a plan application knowing that everyone's going to work a 32-hour-a-week work schedule as opposed to 40 hours, which is a 20% reduction, then the system, the SharedWork Ohio computer system, will populate that information for each employee, and it will be very easy for the employer to conduct its part of the contract each pay period, which is to go into the system and acknowledge that the employees all worked their reduced schedule. Certainly, there is flexibility week to week. So employers may need to change that reduction percentage And as long as it's between 10 and 50% reduced normal weekly work hours, it will be acceptable. It just might be a little bit more administratively burdensome, for lack of a better word, to go in and know the actual hours worked for each individual if you're going to be switching up the reduction percentage, but it is certainly possible. Plans are available for up to a year, and employers that need to utilize it the entire time, it is there. And if not, like in COVID-19, you might need to utilize it for the next 4 weeks until your business opens fully, and then you will have it there as a safety net in the event that you need to use it again. There is a requirement that the plans have a minimum of 2 employees. The employees do not search for work while under a SharedWork Ohio plan. This is important because the federal requirement under traditional unemployment that individuals be able, available, and actively seeking work doesn't apply here, and instead is replaced with the requirement that the individuals be available for up to their normal weekly hours of work. What that means to the employer is, if James, using the example in the video, was working his 32-hour work week, but the employer was able to give James 40 hours, James would need to work the 40 hours. If James chose not to work the 40 hours, benefit eligibility would be impacted. Also notable and unique to SharedWork Ohio, employer-approved paid leave, such as sick leave, holiday pay, vacation pay, that counts towards the hours worked in a SharedWork Ohio work week. So if James took 32 hours of vacation, the employer would nonetheless report that James worked his reduced work schedule. However, if James took 40 hours of vacation, James would not have a reduced work schedule and would not receive the SharedWork Ohio benefit for that week. You're looking at a screenshot of the automated employer plan application for the SharedWork Ohio program. This gives employers an idea of what they can expect when they go online to fill out a plan application. And the questions that you're seeing here are questions that are required to be answered by federal law. Such things notably as employers need to retain health and retirement benefits at the same rate as if they were not participating in this program. And things like you can't have temporary, seasonal, or intermittent employees participating in this program. You can, however, have part-time employees. You just need to indicate their normal weekly hours of work when you go to upload the participant list. And on that note, this is a screenshot of how participating employees are added once you go online to fill out your plan application. You can see it's a relatively easy process. You're essentially uploading a template Excel spreadsheet, which will give us the information to populate the system and eventually attach your employees to the SharedWork Ohio plan. This is a screenshot of, we call it automated weekly claim filing. This is the employer's portion of the contract between the employer and the state. And this is where the employer is going to tell us, yes, James did work his, in this case, 36 required reduced hours, or no, Sally worked only 20 hours, and so the system will recognize that and populate the SharedWork Ohio benefit accordingly. And of course, if they're working, more than 36 hours, they will not have benefit eligibility. If they're working less than 20 hours or less than 50% of their normal work week, they may have eligibility for regular unemployment compensation in those weeks. This is a screenshot of what your employees will see who have been attached to your plan and will need to fill out each pay period after the employer fills out its portion of this agreement. And in this screen, the employee tells us, yes, I worked my reduced work schedule, and maybe an employee would have a second job. And because this is a program about reduction of hours, having a second job will impact the employee's eligibility. So if the employee worked 32 hours with the employer but had an outside job for another 4 hours, they might only receive 10% of their shared work Ohio benefit. If they had hours that totaled 40 or more, or 38 or more, they might not be eligible to receive the shared work benefit. Next, we're going to talk about what is the impact of the CARES Act on Shared Work Ohio specifically. The federal government recognized that short-time compensation programs, of which Shared Work Ohio is Ohio's version of the federal short-time compensation program, the government, recognized that this could be a good tool right now in this uncertain time, and it put money towards the program and incentives for both employers and employees to participate in this program, one of which is 100% federal reimbursement to states for the cost of Shared Work Ohio benefits from the time period March 29th through the end of the year. And what does this mean specifically? Specifically, it means that contributory employers, or employers who have a tax rate with the unemployment system, they will receive full federal funding. And reimbursing employers who don't pay a tax rate each quarter but pay dollar for dollar as benefits are charged, they will get a 50% reimbursement for Shared Work Ohio benefits during this time frame. Additionally, the CARES Act created the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation benefit, which you may hear as the $600 a week add-on. And notably, that $600 is not prorated. It is a straight $600 additional per week. And the federal government clarified that does also apply to the Shared Work Ohio program. So in this period of time, and that benefit only lasts until July 25th, but in these next few months, participating employees in this program will receive their base Shared Work Ohio benefit, which is a portion of their unemployment insurance weekly benefit amount that is proportionate to the percentage of reduced hours. So for instance, if James worked 40 hours a week as his normal weekly hours of work, and the employer put him on a 50% plan under Shared Work Ohio, James would work 20 hours. He'd get paid for the 20 hours by the employer, and he would receive 50% of what he would receive in his weekly benefit amount for unemployment if he were unemployed. So if James, for instance, was single with no dependents, he would receive $480 a week if he was fully unemployed. Using Shared Work Ohio, he will receive $240 a week. But during the time period where the federal pandemic unemployment compensation benefit exists, he will receive the $240 plus an additional $600 a week. There's another program that you might have heard about in the news. It's getting a lot of attention, and it's called the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. This is new. It is a version of disaster unemployment assistance, but the individual monetary benefit flows through the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, and it offers up to 39 weeks of benefits to a large group of what the law calls covered individuals. They are individuals who don't traditionally qualify for unemployment benefits or any sort of extended benefits under regular UI, like church employees and gig workers and 1099 folks, folks that are self-employed. They traditionally are not eligible for unemployment insurance, so they could be eligible for this program as a covered individual. Each of the covered individuals must meet one of the COVID-19 related circumstances in order to qualify. So it's not enough that, say, they are a hairdresser or a restaurant worker, an Uber driver. That doesn't automatically qualify them. They have to fall into one of the 10 circumstances that the Federal CARES Act lays out in order to qualify. But because this is such a new and large program in terms of anticipated participation, the state did contract for a standalone PUA system in order to get these benefits flowing. And I believe that's going to be up and running by May 15th, and folks are already starting to pre-register for the program. The federal pandemic unemployment compensation benefit we touched on, the $600 a week add-on, does apply to SharedWork Ohio, but it also applies notably to regular unemployment. So folks who are on unemployment now are going to see the $600 add-on each week through July 25th, as well as individuals who get on extended benefits or folks who were on trade benefits. And because the system had to be programmed to issue this unprecedented money, benefits will be paid retroactive to the date of eligibility. There's also the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program that was authorized under Section 2107 of the CARES Act. And that essentially provides an additional 13 weeks of regular unemployment benefits to individuals who have exhausted all of their rights to regular UI. They can't just go through the new PUA door. They have to next go through and exhaust these 13 weeks. This Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program does include the $600 a week add-on through the period of applicability, which is July 25th. But the 13 weeks of benefits, the traditional unemployment benefits, could run through December 26th, depending on when they file. What is the impact of all of these various provisions on employers? Well, the new Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program is fully federally funded, so employers will not see an impact. The same goes with the $600 add-on, as well as the emergency additional 13 weeks. So employers that are looking to budget based on these new programs, these are expenses that they won't have to be concerned with. However, for traditional unemployment benefit charges, if you're a reimbursing employer, as we touched on with respect to the SharedWork Ohio program, you're going to be eligible for 50% reimbursement for all benefit charges through the end of the year. And this is all benefit charges, not those just related to COVID-19. The department just received guidance from the federal government on the 27th of April. So we're still working out how that is going to roll out, but that is the high-level message, is that they'll be reimbursed for 50% of these charges. And then contributory employers, for regular unemployment benefit charges, they have had their charges sent to the mutual account during the period of COVID-19 per the executive order of the governor 2020-03D. And that was also codified in emergency language in House Bill 197. That will start to drop off as the shelter-in-place order is lifted, and the traditional unemployment program will start to fluctuate back to normal times. That is all I have today. We wanted to give you contact information. I want to introduce my right hand, Laura Colhorst Jones. She's the SharedWork Program Administrator, and she will be the individual that you'll contact if you are interested in applying for SharedWork Ohio. She's going to give you a brief overview of the kinds of information that you're going to want to have ready at hand when you want to go online and apply. Laura?
Thank you, Julianne. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to give a couple of quick tips to have in mind if you are planning on applying for SharedWork. You want to ensure that you have your company's FEIN number and your unemployment account number. The other thing that you will need if you do not have an online account set up for unemployment is what we call a registration code. And I'll be happy to assist anyone with obtaining that registration code. They just need to send me an email, laura.jones@jfs.ohio.gov, and provide your organization's name and FEIN number, and I'll be happy to send that registration code your way. The other thing that will be helpful for you to have is your list of employees ready. The employees that you'll want to have on the reduction of hours, you can upload them using our template spreadsheet, but it will be very helpful for you to have those employees' names and social security numbers ready and available. And the last thing is our full comprehensive program guide, which is available online on the SharedWork section of the unemployment website. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Erica, for allowing us to present this information. We hope that you found it helpful, and we are certainly available for questions.
Julianne and Laura, thank you so much for this. It was definitely helpful information. We do have a few people on the line. If there are any questions, now is the time to ask them. I'll pause for a few moments to give anyone time to ask questions. There being no questions at this time, again, I thank you all for participating. This webinar has been recorded and will be available on the President's Council website for later viewing. We do encourage you to contact Laura at the email address that she provided. We will additionally send out the presentation shared by Julianne. And again, we welcome all of you to ask the President's Council any questions where we may be able to be of assistance. Thank you again, Julianne, and thank you, Laura, for this valuable information. Thank you.
Thank you.